welcome to Flicks and the Nitpicks, and I am your humble host, Nove718. And let's get into it real quick. I want to talk about Spider-Man. I should have gotten around to doing a lot more speculative videos post Endgame. I had a whole idea set up. I might do a certain thing wrapping around to it now that we've actually know what's going to happen in terms of what the films that they got coming up, but we can still speculate on what's going to happen post Endgame, what they may deal with as a result of, because there's going to be some lasting impact and what's going on down the line. But with Spider-Man specifically, which I'll do in a series of videos, is to speculate on what could possibly happen in the next film. This is not just the snap or post the Endgame. This is post now that the doors are closed between the business deal between Sony and Disney. There'll be no more re-up, at least as it stands for the time being. That being said, now, there's a lot to speculate on. You know, I remember one person even brought up maybe the idea of why they went with a Michelle Jones, if you will, because she was supposed to be a hodgepodge of the Spanish character Michelle something I forgot, and MJ, Mary Jane Watson, and they put it together to create a new MJ that's not exactly MJ, so they can do a lot more exploring that type of character because it's brand new and fresh. And like the Asian kid, I forgot who he played, but he basically played a character from the Miles Morales universe. You know, that's why they slimmed him down in the animated series so that he wouldn't look so much like the best friend in Far From Home or Homecoming, at least up to that point. That being said, now, where are they going to go post spoilers? We have to go into spoiler territory because we actually know now. And hold on, I'll give you a couple of minutes to get off, because I don't think this is the part you want to really get into. So go watch the film and come back. Now, hopefully you guys are going, but we got to go into spoiler territory. We know that Spider-Man's secret identity is no longer exactly a secret. If you go into the post-credits in Far From Home. What are we going to do now after that? Now that Disney has separated from that, this is going to have ripple effects. Even though it's an after-credit scene, you can actually kind of treat it like it never happened and omit that. And they could just say that's off the universe now, and they can move forward. And somehow, someway, they're going to have to write them off in verbiage. Like, oh, that kid Spider-Man, he left or something happened to him, and they'll just pick off, like, which is worse for them because they're in the world of the that universe. So unless you do a soft reboot, a new Spider-Man movie where we totally don't even act like none of that even happened with the same characters, then yes. But it's so hard to do that since Spider-Man was so woven into the MCU. Like, I'll be honest with you, this is going to kind of take me out of it. The second phase, this next phase of the universe is going to be very lackluster because it's going to deal with a lot of carryover effects from business deals that no longer can continue, and also carryover effects if they're going to try to weave in a brand new X-Men universe. We're going to have to omit a lot. It's going to be at the expense of the X-Men. But I don't want to get too caught up into that. What is Sony going to do from here on out? Unless you soft reboot it and we ignore everything else and we just continue from here, I guess. But if you wanted to get a box set of it, you still would want to include Civil War, would you not? Infinity War and everything else, would you not? Because Infinity War and Endgame kind of deals with the after effects of that in Far From Home. I mean, this is going to be such a blemish on the series. I really hope that they get this together because this sets off both of them going forward, in my eyes, in a very bullshit space. Now, if we're going to reset the universe with this, then fine, with the new phase, but we're not. We're continuing. And it's going to blemish what we've already have spent so hard working on to create. That I think that the expectation of you guys to get 50% on the character, which will be a brand new deal on the character, at least as it stands in this series. And that means that you get damn near controlling effect, or if not, it's going to be hard because it's 50-50 now. So who's going to tip it? That's why it's normally 49-51, so we can at least respect the controlling interest. The fact that you're doing that is someone has something on the other end that will make you actually control it, and you have everything else. You would have controlling interests. And until you're done with that Spider-Man series and everything reverts back, we're stuck in that, depending on how that deal is written, especially if they acknowledge that's only for the Tom Holland incarnation of. But there was no deal. But for you to do that, that means that you will control this series at least for the next foreseeable future, or in fact indefinitely, which will be a stupid deal to begin with. Like, I like what other more credible and savvy pundits have actually suggested, was that, yo, a person will lose their job doing that kind of a deal. You don't just do that kind of a deal. That has to be like at the highest echelon to make a deal like that. That means that Sony has to be moving towards the direction of getting rid of their universe. And why would you do that? Or or not even their universe, all their IP, because as it stands, Spider-Man is their most profitable IP. So for you to be willing to do that, they'd have to sell it for major coin, and that type of coin Disney is not paying for. The only way you would do a deal like that is if that's your way to back out of the deal, because you no longer want to deal with that. Which would make sense in a lot of areas, because you're exhausting resources to a degree, but you're still also getting it on the other end. Is leveling up your characters with him being there. And he's a very likable character. He will level and bolster up sales just being in certain other characters' films. So it's not like you're getting nothing out of it and you're not losing any money. It's just time and maybe some resources, but that's being spent. But they're getting paid for out of Sony. It's a win-win. The idea that just because they made $1 billion, that means that you should get half is ridiculous. Maybe a bonus. Maybe another % or 2, maybe even another 5 at 10. They, from what I understand, they was willing to increase it and make it 30%. Half is just ridiculous. That means that they're making less out of it than they were to begin with. For all of that, we might as well do it on our own. We made no less than 700 every time we went out with Spider-Man, which is major coin. 700 million, that's major coin. That's not a failure. This again goes into what I said about the fan community trying to rehash it as a failure when it's not. But that's another topic. What do we do with Spider-Man moving forward now? And that's going to be a hard response. Do you just chuck him in Venom and act like all the other things that happen? And you can for maybe a movie, depending on how you set that one up. But because then you're leaving the door still open that we can still come back into the universe like nothing ever happened. But I think if I was the MCU, I would just get back to the deal. Take the 30% if that was on the table. Fuck it. Make some money off of it. And keep it moving, because at this point now you've woven it too tight into the universe. At least complete the next trilogy with Spider-Man, and then maybe he goes off into his own universe and make it build up to something that you both can honestly say when he leaves, and we did it in a respectable way, so that now we both don't ruin what we set up already by acting like nothing happened. We could continue a story maybe in another universe, but this is what we're going to have to set up. And I think that would have been the smartest way to do it and the most businesslike, because I do believe you will blemish your universe by doing this shit. You're going to go the way of the WB, which they've gotten so much flack for. That now we're going to create a space in which MCU may start to be all over the place. And that's the space that I don't want. Not for the MCU. I wanted the DCEU to be something completely different from MCU, and I like the ideas that they were trying to challenge. But because the fandom and scared feet, yada yada yada, they tried to marvelize their characters, which now makes them almost seem a little disjointed. And I think they need to figure a way out. There's ways you could weave your whole universe together, right? But you're gonna have to really stand tall on making these type of moves. And this is what I would have wanted for Spider-Man, to have something that they could, a bedrock they could stand tall on, so that moving forward they have a foundation that in which is solidified, that they don't have to omit this, that, and the third already. 2 full movies and going into their 5th movie of him in the, actually 6th movie with him in the universe, because they've had, as it stands, he's been around 5 times in 5 different movies, 2 of which were totally his. And you can even argue he was glorified cameos in those. Like I said, there were smart ways, the way they booted Spider-Man into the universe. There's got to be a smart way they could boot him out, in which that you could do a joint venture on a film where Spider-Man leaves and goes into the Spider-Verse, and he's someplace else, that we can move it forward. Because omitting it is still tied into, like, Happy's there. Like, I mean, it just be too hard of a big skip and jump if you wanted to watch the films all together. I mean, I understand if you'd have to, but I feel like there's better ways to do it, because you put a real hard blemish on the writing in your characters. I mean, can you get out of it? I mean, at this point now, we're just starting to omit whatever we want to anyway, when it comes to even fact or fiction. So I guess, I mean, we're starting to get accustomed to being able to do that. At least those in the know. I think those not in the know, at least that come from an older generation of film watching, they'll still always feel disjointed about watching all the Spider-Mans congruently. At least its own films, apart from everything else the MCU did, or even if you watch it with that to get to the next movie where it seems like they just acting like certain things ain't happen and people don't exist. So I just hope they find a way that can make him leave that universe to go to the quote unquote Venomverse, if you will, if that's what we're going to do. So that you don't lose his legacy and where he once was, but we can actually use that as a linchpin for who he is now and who he can be moving forward. And unfortunately, it'll be a real big thing in this cinematic character, but it'll be something that we'd have to do, and we can move past it. And at least you don't lose sight of what was before, than to act like certain things never happened and act like certain things did. Even though if we watch all these together, by the time you get to the 3rd movie, you really have to act like a lot of these things never happened. And if there's any type of rights issue with why they didn't use Mary Jane and they used MJ so Sony could keep these characters, then it's going to be quite interesting moving forward. Who will his friends be? Are we going to have recast them and act like they didn't happen? I mean, this is what I'm talking about. Where do we go from here if there are legal issues with that part of the character in and of itself as well? So again, we're just going to have to hope that this Sony could come up with something creative. Otherwise, they start off with the movie with him being caught and he finds some wormhole or some rip, and then boom, he's in a new universe, and we could call Zendaya's character Mary Jane Watson in this universe, or Mary Jane is somebody else, a legitimate redhead, and we move forward. And his best friend isn't there no more. We recast the people around him, or maybe that's his friend and MJ is really Mary Jane in this universe, and we just keep it moving. But they're just gonna be. That's one other alternative, but acting like it never happened is just gonna be a little awkward. But that's all I got for this one, man. Let me know what you guys think. What do you think? Where do you think we will go in the future of this franchise when it pertains to Spider-Man. Do you think that we can accept as an audience the total omission of a lot of characters that was woven into this character's background and act like they just don't exist moving forward? Or will that really be a severe blemish to you? Or even watching MCU acting like he doesn't exist, which is a little bit more feasible because they got way more characters, way more things going on that they could actually spend a movie not even dealing with Spider-Man or two. To the point that the audience can forget and we could just move forward. Because that was really just an after credits thing. The bulk of that is going to be Sony. So again, do I ask, will it actually blemish the MCU for you though still? Because it will be a blemish. It's there. It's in the ether. Let me know what you guys think. Leave it all below. Like, share, subscribe. See you next time. And as always, till I have a better outro. Chill. And again, I gotta say, I love this series, but this new way of treating this character in terms of omitting a lot of little things around it, even though I know it's business, it's gonna really take a lot away from the foundation that was meant to it. And I think that that's just gonna be a weird type of position to be in. I don't know, man. It's just me, man. But we're gonna keep talking about it moving forward. Chill.
Far From Home trailer is about to play, but if you haven't seen Avengers Endgame yet, stop watching because there's some serious spoilers about to come up. But if you have seen Avengers Endgame, enjoy the trailer. Everywhere I go, I see his face. I just really miss him.
Yeah, I miss him too. I don't think Tony would have done what he did if he didn't know that you were going to be here after he was gone.
You gonna be the next Iron Man now?
Well, no, I don't have time. I'm too busy doing your jobs. Oh. I'm kidding. Look, keep up the good work because I am going on vacation.
Heads up, Nick Fury's calling you.
I don't really want to talk to Nick
Answer
Fury.
the phone.
Why?
Because if you don't talk to him, then I have to talk to him. I don't want to talk to him. You sent Nick Fury to voicemail?
I gotta go.
You do not ghost Nick Fury.
What up, dorks? What's up? We're just talking about the trip.
I'm here in St. Marco Polo. Oh,
I think MJ really likes me.
that reminds me when I first fell in love.
You're a very difficult person to contact.
Spider-Man.
This is Mr. Beck.
We could have used someone like you on my world.
Your world?
Beck is from Earth, just not ours. The snap to our hole in our dimension.
You're saying there's a multiverse?
We have a job to do.
You're coming with us.
There's gotta be someone else you can use. What about Thor?
Off-world.
Captain Marvel? Unavailable. But I'm just a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Bitch, please, you've been to space.
What do you want, Peter?
I want to go back on my trip with the girl who I really like and tell her how I feel. MJ,
I'm Spider-Man.
No, of course I'm not.
I mean, it's kind of obvious.
You're right, you may not be ready, but this is my responsibility. Saving the world requires sacrifice. Sometimes people die.
Oh my God.
I just always feel like I'm putting my friends in danger. The world needs the next Iron Man.
You going to step up or not?
Out of here! Get on the jet! Who are you? I work with Spider-Man. You work for Spider-Man? I work with Spider-Man, not for Spider-Man. New plan!